After the car accident, I pretended to have amnesia to amuse my husband and son. Who are you? My son's eyes flashed with a hint of joy as he led the woman standing outside the ward in. He said to me, "Auntie, my parents and I are here to visit the patient." My husband, who was standing by, said nothing and acquiesced to his son's address. "Auntie, my parents and I are here to visit the patient." The sweet voice of the child echoed in the ward. I had a bandage on my forehead and looked down at my 5-year-old son Robert, who was holding one of them in each hand with a sly smile on his face. Henry, who was in a suit and tie, had no intention of correcting his son's words but looked at me with a hint of inquiry. The woman led by Robert was wearing a white long dress. She had an elegant and gentle temperament. At this moment, she looked a bit embarrassed when I glanced at her, so she tucked her hair behind her ear. Robert saw me staring at Diana and stood in front of Grace vigilantly like a protector. If I really had amnesia, I would truly believe the people standing before me were a loving family of 3. Robert tugged at Henry's hand and whispered, "Dad, since Mom has lost her memory, can you guys get a divorce?" Although Robert spoke in a low voice, he controlled the volume so I could hear him clearly. I knew his little tricks. He was punishing me because I scolded him yesterday and made him lose face in front of the servants, which made him angry. This was Robert's usual prank, and he took pleasure in punishing me. But I didn't want to play along anymore. Since I said I had lost my memory, I would continue to pretend that there was no such son, no such husband. "Excuse me, who are you?" Robert was a little surprised, and there was a trace of panic. "Do you really not remember me? You can't possibly forget me. I'm your favorite child." Henry frowned, his clear eyes turning cold, and his voice became impatient. "Callista, stop pretending. The doctor said it was just a mild concussion. Not serious. Don't think you can escape divorce just because you've lost your memory." "That's right. Stop pretending. You love us so much. How could you forget us?" Robert's cold and stern look was exactly like Henry's. I just felt a headache coming on. Before I could say anything, the nurse at the door knocked. "The patient needs to rest. Please leave if it's not necessary." Henry and Robert took Diana away without saying anything. The nurse came in and said to me, "Your husband just came and went out to buy you some porridge." "My husband?" I was confused. "Didn't you just see my husband leave?" The nurse blinked. "Yes, I worked in the obstetrics and gynecology department 4 years ago and saw you several times. You're so beautiful, it's really hard to forget. I remember you had a prenatal checkup in this hospital. But that man, Henry, never came with you." The nurse continued, "Your husband is one of the few who didn't play with his phone the whole time. He anxiously waited at the door for you to finish your checkup. He's tall and handsome, and so careful and loyal." At the time, we nurses started to believe in love again. By the way, who were those 2 earlier? They're good looking, but their faces were as dark as if they were debt collectors. I couldn't help laughing. Henry had never come to any of the 14 prenatal checkups. The one who came with me was Ian, my younger brother. 5 years younger than me. He was only 18 at the time. I didn't explain the relationship between Henry, Robert, and me. After all, we'd have no relationship soon. After a while, Ian came in, panting, with a lunchbox. I was already starving. I hadn't eaten all day and my stomach ached. Ian quickly opened the porridge and placed it on the small table. He arranged the spoon, napkin, and water cup neatly. "This is warm water, and this is your favorite preserved egg and lean meat porridge. Eat first, I'll peel the eggs for you." I accepted his care with peace of mind. Since the first time I saw Ian brought back by my grandfather when I was 15, he had become my most loyal companion. After eating a few spoonfuls of porridge, the ache in my stomach eased. As soon as I looked up, I saw Ian's eyes were red. "You don't know how scared I was when I heard about your car accident." His lips trembled, and his voice was a bit choked. My nose suddenly tingled with emotion. Who wouldn't be afraid of a car accident? I was just lucky I wasn't hurt badly. I was afraid Henry and Robert would worry, so I thought of pretending to have amnesia to tease them. But how could heartless people worry about me? I was discharged from the hospital after a few days. I insisted to the doctor that I could remember everything except Henry and Robert. After discharge, the doctor told Henry it was temporary amnesia caused by the concussion and that I would slowly regain my memory. I returned home with Henry. Beautiful piano music came from the living room. Diana and Robert were playing a four-hand duet. Diana gave a thumbs up and praised, "Our little pianist is amazing." Robert blushed and laughed. "You're the one who taught me well." A picture of a loving mother and son. I walked upstairs without changing my expression. When Robert saw me, the smile on his face disappeared. Diana stood up quickly. "Callista, how are you?" I stood on the stairs and nodded to her. "I'm almost well. You can continue." I don't hate Diana, I just envy her. Diana is not the third party in my marriage with Henry. She is Henry's unforgettable first love. Although Henry and I are married, there's a saying that's very true: the third party is the one who is not loved. When Henry was 18, in his prime, I saw him fall in love with someone for the first time. Last month, W went bankrupt, and Diana was forced to return home. She used all her savings to cover W's debt, but as a music major, it wasn't easy for her to find a high-paying job in China. Henry found her and asked her to be Robert's piano teacher. $600,000 a month. New mother is so nice. I love new mother the most. Robert said loudly in the living room. "Robert, I'm not. Don't call me that anymore." Diana looked at him awkwardly. Robert was a little dissatisfied with her response and hugged Diana's thigh affectionately. "If you call me Robert again, I'll be angry. You should call me Robert baby. You're much gentler than my mother. I like you the most." He glanced upstairs and, seeing I hadn't come out, continued, "Can you live in my house? I want to see you as soon as I wake up." "My father has agreed. Why don't you live here? My house is luxurious. You can have whatever you want." Henry had actually proposed Diana move in. There were plenty of rooms, and she wouldn't need to run around. Not to mention that Diana was penniless now. But Diana insisted on renting a house outside and rejected Henry's offer. "Robert baby, you should continue practicing today's piano piece." Robert shook his head, determined to have her live at home. "Are you afraid of my mother?" "Don't worry, my father and I will protect you. She listens to my father and won't do anything to you. Robert is my son. He's very smart. He knows exactly what to say to hurt me." I put on my pearl earrings and walked out slowly. Seeing me coming downstairs, Diana looked a little embarrassed. "Callista, it's okay. Diana, you can stay here. I know it takes you 3 hours to take the bus every day." I took the shoes handed to me by the servant. "You don't have to feel psychologically burdened. I'm also very happy that you can come back." Robert was a little surprised and stunned. In the past, if Dad called out the name, Diana, when he was drunk, Mom would cry with red eyes. Yes, Diana's visit to his house last month was not the first time Robert and Diana met. He had secretly seen the carefully preserved photos of women in Dad's drawer, as well as the names of other women he muttered when drunk. This made him want to find the best killer to punish Mom. But now this killer was ineffective. "I want to eat ice cream. Bring me 2. "No, I want to eat 10. The only response to him was the sound of me closing the door. He looked unkempt every day during hospitalization. He was finally discharged and had to go to the beauty salon for skincare. The driver had been waiting outside for a long time. And inside the door, Robert put away the expression on his face. "Master, the ice cream is here," the servant hurriedly said, taking it out of the refrigerator. "Who wants to eat it?" He threw the ice cream on the ground. He stared straight at the closed door. Did Mom really forget him? Henry's mother, Grace, knew that Diana had returned to China and that Henry had asked her to be Robert's piano teacher. So she rushed over with several bags of luxury goods. On the sofa, the elegant lady held Diana's hand. "Diana, good child, you've suffered so much. If you had been with Henry from the beginning, Henry would have helped manage the one group. How could your family have gone bankrupt?" Diana was a little panicked. "Auntie, you can't say that. The past is a foregone conclusion. Now that Henry is willing to give me a job, I'm very grateful to him. What can't be said? I'm relieved to leave Robert to you now," Grace said with satisfaction. Grace whispered, "Henry is going to divorce. Did you know? He wants to divorce as soon as you came back. Doesn't this mean something?" "Don't worry. Lin Ju likes you very much. You won't be wronged in our family. And Henry will help your family turn things around. Grace didn't tell me to entertain her when she came. Even though she knew I was at home. I was very tactful and didn't come out to disturb them reminiscing. Not only Henry, but Robert also likes Diana. And Henry's mother Grace also likes Diana very much. Even before Henry and I got married, Grace wanted Diana to be her daughter-in-law. Diana is from a scholarly family. And she is a good match for the Pei family. It just so happened that Henry fell in love with Diana at first sight. And Grace was delighted and immediately thought about preparing for their marriage. Unfortunately, Diana didn't like Henry and decisively rejected his confession. Then went abroad to continue her music studies. Although Grace felt regretful, she liked Diana even more and felt that she was a girl with ideas and pursuits. I, born into a small family, was vain and greedy for wealth and glory. And I would do anything to marry Henry. I could see that Grace actually disdained me and even hated me. But her good upbringing prevented her from showing it too obviously. Sometimes I thought if Diana had married Henry from the beginning, it would have been a happy ending for everyone. My phone vibrated and I opened it. The text message reminded me that the accident insurance compensation for the last car accident had arrived. I thought I would slowly forget what happened that day because of fear. However, when I closed my eyes, everything seemed like yesterday. It was raining heavily that day. Henry and I were on the highway. Someone called Henry. And I could clearly hear the voice on the other end. Henry. A group of debt collectors are going to the one family to cause trouble. They're targeting the eldest daughter. Henry glanced at me sideways. I knew he wasn't asking for my consent. Just telling me that he was going to find Diana. The current direction was the opposite of the one family. I whispered, "Please drop me at the next service area. I'll take a taxi back." As soon as I got out of the car, I was still soaked even though I quickly opened my umbrella. The black Bentley whizzed past me, splashing water all over my face. And my rusty feelings met the rainy day again. However, the car I took skidded on the highway because it was old. The moment it lost control, my whole body tensed. I quickly fastened the seatbelt in the back seat. My heart was pounding and my mind went blank. With a bang, my head hit the car window heavily under the violent impact. At that moment, time seemed to slow down. My mind uncontrollably recalled the first half of my life. But all the memories revolved around Henry. When I was 10, my parents gritted their teeth and took out a loan to buy a villa in the wealthiest area of Beijing, and I met Henry. My parents said I had to please him carefully, saying he was the prince of the Beijing circle. Henry was very good looking, and I was willing to play with him. So I followed him around for 7 years. At 17, I seemed to like Henry. But he hated me. I loved him most for a year and was called a dog by people in his circle. Others called me clown sister. At 18, Henry fell in love with Diana. I watched him circle around her and then fall into depression after the breakup. At 21, Henry got drunk and pressed me on the bed to kiss me while calling Diana's name. I should have pushed him away and slapped him. But my hand hesitated. My father's company was struggling and needed a large sum of money. Being with Henry was also the wish of my parents and me for more than 10 years. I silently endured it. Henry called Diana's name for as long as he tormented me. Our affair was soon known to Henry's grandfather. The Pei family has always been traditional. He asked Henry to marry me. And I got what I wanted. I married Henry. At 22, I was pregnant. The baby was troublesome. I had severe morning sickness and a difficult delivery. Memory is a kind of crisscrossing pain. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in the ward. I felt uncomfortable all over and had a splitting headache. At 27, my son called Diana, "Mom," in front of me. And my husband didn't correct him. I pretended not to care. But countless moments were hurting me. The person I was most reluctant to lose was looking forward to my early departure. I chose to remain silent. Perhaps happiness did not belong to me. Will you speak ill of the person you love? I really want to ask Henry and Robert. But when they saw Diana, I think I already knew the answer. Henry fell in love with Diana at first sight. And Robert also liked her immediately. This was the first time Robert showed love for someone else. People always cling to things they recognize at first sight. Robert is becoming more like his father in appearance, personality, and hobbies. They both like Diana. I never thought Diana was a third party. Because from that night on, I stole what belonged to Diana. The reason why people suffer is that they pursue the wrong things. I think this marriage has come to an end. It's time to return Henry and Robert to Diana. In fact, Henry drafted the divorce agreement on the day Diana came back. He had wanted to divorce for a long time and then pursue Diana again. As he wished, I notified the family lawyer and went to Henry's company together. I agreed to the divorce. I looked at him calmly. Henry was a little surprised. Lawyer Zhang handed each of us a divorce agreement. I quickly signed my name on the paper. Henry paused when he was about to sign, and the fingertips holding the pen turned white. Brian hesitated and said, "Henry, you can sign after you think it over. I know how Henry feels. Maybe you can even have feelings for a dog, and I have been following him for 16 years. Robert belongs to me." He looked at me with a tentative look. I nodded. "I don't want either of them." He looked at me deeply again, trying to capture the sadness, grief, and reluctance he wanted to see on my face. But he didn't. He clenched the pen and signed his name with anger. I was only busy reading the property division document and left Henry's office very satisfied. In the empty and quiet office, Lawyer Zhang shivered and felt that Henry was emitting cold air all over his body. "Henry, do you want to announce the news of your divorce from your wife?" "No, she is just throwing a tantrum." After saying this, Henry seemed to be comforted by himself, and even his frown relaxed. "Don't let this leak out. Madam will come back on her own. She just lost her memory and forgot about me and Robert. She loves me and Robert so much. She will remember soon." The doctor said that the memory loss is only temporary. When she remembers, she will definitely come back crying and beg me to get back together. This divorce is a punishment for her forgetting us so completely. When she comes back crying and apologizing, I will forgive her and remarry her. Henry's depressed mood instantly dissipated, and he took a sip of the coffee on the table. Lawyer Zhang was sweating profusely and took out a tissue to wipe the sweat from his forehead. "The divorce agreement has been signed, and the property has been divided. Is Madam just throwing a tantrum?" When I was about to leave, I thought I would be very sad. After all, this is the place I lived in for 6 years. But I felt relaxed, as if I was free of shackles. I am no longer someone's wife or someone's mother. I don't have to please anyone anymore. And I don't have to worry about who doesn't like me anymore. While they were both away, I called 3 trucks and spent tens of thousands of dollars to hire 3 Japanese moving companies. I packed up all my luxury bags, clothes, jewelry, and skincare products and took them away. I also took away my baking supplies, a cabinet of high-end dishes and chopsticks that I carefully selected, a few pieces of furniture that I was used to using, and a lot of decorations that I bought. I even packed up some gifts that I bought for Henry and Robert at a high price. They didn't like them, and they were placed in the corner of the cabinet. Even if I took them away, they wouldn't know. In that case, I'd better sell them secondhand so that they can still play to their final value. After all, we're divorced. If they see these unpleasant things again in the future, they will probably feel quite disgusted. There were a lot of things to pack up. Fortunately, I had booked 3 companies with enough manpower. All the things were packed and loaded in less than 2 hours. The house suddenly became empty. When Henry came back and saw it, he would definitely think that the house suddenly became clean and tidy. He never liked to put too many things in the house, but now they are finally gone. I was very considerate and left enough space for the hostess who was about to move in. Before leaving the yard, I took one last look at the villa. I will never come back again. And Zhang stood at the gate and looked at me and wiped her tears quietly. "Madam, are you really leaving? And Zhang has been here since I moved in. She is very good to me and treats me like her daughter. I think only Rati will really shed tears because of my departure." I held Zhang's hand with both hands and smiled lightly. "You should congratulate me. This is a good thing for me." Henry was very efficient and quickly divided the property. I used the money in my account to buy a large flat of 200 square meters that I had set my eyes on last month. The previous owner of this house had immigrated, and it was already decorated in a French romantic style. I fell in love with it at first sight. I didn't need to decorate it myself and could move in directly on the same day. I quickly signed the contract and asked the people from the moving company to move all my luggage over. I had already found a few organizers, and in half a day, my things were neatly and orderly stored. This money was well spent. I lay comfortably on the recliner in front of the French window, looking at the scenery outside. My life can finally start again. Ian quickly came over with a lot of bags. The first person I told after the divorce was Ian. I've been used to it for so many years, no matter big or small. I will tell Ian, and he will stand by me unconditionally. Why did you bring so many things? I saw that he had brought a lot. The first meal in the new house must be eaten at home. I bought some vegetables. As he spoke, he put them neatly into the refrigerator one by one. I bought fruits and milk. Now that the weather is cold, let them sit at room temperature before eating. Little housekeeper. I couldn't help but complain. But suddenly I saw the box on the ground shake violently, and I was startled. Ian, the box is moving. Ian heard it and smiled. This is a gift for you. Come and open it. I was a little afraid, but I heard a slight cat cry. My eyes lit up, and I trotted over. I carefully opened the box, and it turned out to be a golden tabby. I squatted on the ground and observed the cat carefully. The cat Ian chose was very affectionate and rubbed against my calf. My heart was about to melt. Because Henry has mesophobia, I never thought about raising a kitten, and the only one who knew that I liked cats was Ian. I hugged the cat and screamed, "Ian, you are just like a worm in my stomach." I played with it for a long time and named it Marshmallow. Ian quickly prepared the meal. Ian picked up a piece of sweet and sour pork ribs for me. You are alone tonight, okay? He was a little worried about me, maybe afraid that I would not be able to let it go, after all. I liked Henry so much before. Don't worry, I was the one who proposed the divorce. And I don't have any feelings for Henry anymore. After the car accident, my mind suddenly became clear. It's amazing. Ian looked at my relaxed expression. It didn't seem fake, so he smiled with relief. I'm really happy that you can figure it out. It's Henry who doesn't deserve you. Since you're divorced, do you want to go back to the company? Before I got pregnant, I helped my father manage the company. Later, when I got pregnant, my father handed the company to Ian, who was 18 years old and still on summer vacation. And the company's shareholders had many opinions. But it turned out that my father had vision. In just 2 months, the company's turnover doubled or tripled. Later, Ian managed the company. While attending school, Ian also successfully jumped into the most promising business as a rookie. I really wanted to go back to the company, but I hadn't worked for 5 years. Ian put down his chopsticks and looked at me. With your ability, you will get started quickly. Have you forgotten how you shone in the business circle? My heart was pounding. I still remembered the joy when I signed the first order in my life. I nodded and agreed to go back to the company. But 2 days later, it was my father's birthday, and I went home with Ian. I nervously told my parents, I'm divorced. My father's face darkened, and he raised his hand to hit me. Dad, Ian shouted at him. My mother ran over to stand in front of me and hugged me. She said to my father in a choked voice, What are you doing? We have ruined our daughter's first half of her life. She is an adult, and she can make her own choices. Give her life back to her. Suddenly, countless grievances surged in my heart, and I hugged my mother and sobbed. My father's eyes were red, and he slapped himself hard with his hand. Dad is useless. He knew the Pei family was a dangerous place but still let you get close to Henry. I am the one who has no right to blame you. Mom pulled me to the sofa. Callista, if you want a divorce, just get one. Mom and Dad have seen it all these years. Mom looked at Ian and me. Callista, let Ian move to your place to take care of you. I said, I think it's too much trouble for Ian. Besides, I'm such a big girl and still need my brother to take care of me? I can take care of myself. As for the meal you cooked, it's good that you didn't poison yourself. My mother didn't comment. When it comes to cooking, I smiled embarrassedly. I love cooking and studying recipes. According to Henry and Robert, it's super dark cuisine. But fortunately, Ian loves to eat, so this hobby has remained until now. At this time, Ian looked at me nervously. Callista, you've never lived alone, and there are still many things that need to be handed over to you at the company. I thought it made sense. After all, I don't even eat the food I cook, so I can't just keep ordering takeout. And I just returned to the company. And there are still many things I need to ask Ian. Oh, and there are marshmallows. And I need Ian to help shovel the litter. I nodded and agreed immediately. Ian breathed a sigh of relief. And my mother laughed. Who else treats you as a child except Ian? I think my mother's words are wrong because Ian is obviously a child in front of me. I really miss the glutinous rice ball that stuck to me every day when I was a child. Although I am very busy at work, I haven't felt so fulfilled in a long time. The feeling of constantly killing monsters and leveling up makes me full of energy. I worked overtime for several hours before returning home. The lights in the house were still on, and Ian was waiting for me to come home. I had always been used to waiting for Henry to come home. But this was the first time someone prepared a meal at home and waited for me. The corners of my mouth rose unconsciously. I walked to the living room and found that Ian had fallen asleep waiting for me. I tiptoed over with a blanket. I was stunned when I approached. Ian was lying on a single recliner, and there was obviously a lot of extra space. When I lay down, Ian looked like he was sleeping on a child's recliner with half of his legs hanging off. Ian has grown up. I never thought about it that way before. Now that I look carefully, Ian has a really good figure. I lowered my eyes, and they landed on his chest muscles. I looked very carefully, and I didn't know Ian had raised his eyes to look at me. How did he get such good skin? White and delicate. It must feel good to touch. Maybe even leave red marks if you use a little more force. His bathrobe was open very low. I could see his half-grandfather's lover. There were traces of fitness, and it was white and bulging. Even the top showed a little bit of tempting pink. Just looking at him, I felt so flustered. It must be very exciting to bite him like this. Maybe he would even cry. My face flushed instantly when I thought of the picture in my mind. I shook my head frantically, trying to shake out the image. I must be drunk, and my mind was a little unclear. I just bent down to cover him with a blanket, and when I looked up inadvertently, I suddenly bumped into a pair of bottomless eyes. I was startled, and my center of gravity became unstable. I fell on Ian. My face was buried in his chest muscles and the pink near my mouth. My face turned red with embarrassment, and I wanted to get up, but the shaking recliner made it difficult to find a point of support. Just when I got up a little, the chair shook again, and I fell back onto Ian's chest. This was forced. I didn't mean to bury my face there. Ian held my waist with his big hand. He sat up and steadied the recliner. Callista, what are you doing? His voice was still hoarse, as if he had just woken up. I raised the blanket in my hand to cover my face awkwardly. I just wanted to cover you with a blanket. He laughed softly, his chest shaking. I realized I was still sitting on his lap. I covered Ian's head with the blanket in anger, quickly climbed off his lap, and ran back to my room. I have mastered the company's business in the past few days. I felt relaxed and hummed a song while walking when I suddenly saw Henry's car in the community parking lot. I just felt unlucky. As I walked, I counted the days until I could go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a divorce certificate. Robert was blocking the elevator door. Dad asked me to come to you. He was still angry, trying to stop me from being sentimental. He asked me to apologize to you. He turned his head away from me. I'm sorry. Calling Diana, Mom, last time was just a prank. He pouted. Who knows if you really lost your memory? It's okay, I said softly. Robert turned his head to look at me. His eyes lit up. I continued to speak. Your dad and I have divorced. And you don't have to apologize to me. No matter who you want to call Mom in the future. Diana will soon be your new mom. She is a very good person. And you happen to like her very much. Your life will be happier in the future. He followed me all the way to the door of the house and didn't intend to leave. Do you have anything else to do? If not, I will close the door. Robert opened his eyes wide with disbelief. I apologized to you, and you didn't forgive me? You will definitely regret it. Robert looked at me stubbornly, with tears in his eyes. As I was about to close the door, This was the first time I treated him so coldly and heartlessly. He shouted angrily. How dare you do this to me? When you regain your memory and remember me, don't ask me to forgive you. Even if you kneel down, I won't forgive you. The first time I heard Robert say this, I hid in my room and cried secretly. I kept doubting myself, whether I hadn't taught him well, why my son didn't like me, and whether I was unworthy of being a mother. But now it's different. I have no fluctuations in my heart. The mother-son relationship between Robert and me was broken when he called someone else Mom. Sometimes, I often suspect that Ian is seducing me, but I have no evidence. For example, at this moment, Ian is wearing a casual home outfit and making coffee for me. The soft cotton white t-shirt and gray pants make him look like a college student. No, he really just graduated from college. So youthful, I sighed while lying on the sofa. Look at this hip, this waist, wow, it's really pleasing to the eye. No wonder they love to keep male models. Ian came over with coffee, and I immediately started reading the magazine seriously. I took the coffee and sipped it just as Ian sat down. Marshmallow jumped onto his legs and lay down. My eyes were drawn to Marshmallow stepping on Ian's gray pants. Wait. Gray pants? I couldn't help but focus my eyes on one corner, so big. Ian leaned close to my ear and brushed my earlobe with a whisper. Callista, what are you looking at? My ears tingled, my breath hitched, and my eyes wandered. The cat has grown a lot. I stammered, blushing. I rushed back to my room and messaged my bestie. Ever since Ian moved in with me, I've felt like he's been seducing me every day. Should I find a man? My bestie called me, excited. You finally opened your eyes. You just realized that such a handsome guy has liked you for years? I was confused. Does he like me? I thought he always treated me like a sister. I clutched my chest, not knowing where this sudden joy came from. This is nonsense. Anyone with a discerning eye can see he likes you. Don't you know he pretends to be a little white rabbit in front of you? But he's like a big bad wolf outside. He could scare people to death. Think about it, since you're divorced. Consider Ian. He's much better than that scumbag. I was still very confused. Work affairs are enough to keep me busy. I didn't want to think about anything else. After hanging up with my bestie, another call came in. I answered. It was Henry. Callista, Robert has a fever and is crying for you. Can you come home to see him? His voice sounded strangely pleading. I walked to the balcony. Enjoying the breeze, I said softly, Henry, I've called you so many times like this. This is my first time being a mother. And every time my baby is sick, I panic and don't know what to do. Even though the family doctor is there, I still called you with trembling hands. Crying, wanting you to come home. But what was your reaction? Your cold voice still echoes in my ears. You said you can't even take care of yourself. How can you take care of Robert? His voice was hoarse. You make sense. So now, I just want to take care of myself. Callista, have you recovered your memory? He asked, more cautiously than I'd ever heard. I never lost my memory. I said clearly. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau in a month. Don't think I'll come back to you after I recover my memory. There's no possibility between us anymore. I hung up before he could speak and blocked his number. From that day on, I began seeing Henry frequently. But he just sat in the car and looked at me silently without disturbing my life. Maybe it was unwillingness, or maybe it was that male instinct, thinking what they can't get is the best. Either way, I now treat Henry as a stranger passing by. Today is Sunday. When I opened the door, I saw Robert arriving with a big photo album. He walked right in through the crack of the door and sat on the sofa. Completely forgetting how he asked me to kneel and beg for his forgiveness the last time. Robert opened the photo album and pulled me over. Mom, look, this is me when I was still in your belly. And this is me when I was just born. Isn't it cute? Grandma said I was the cutest baby in the whole hospital. He wanted to awaken my maternal love. But looking at those photos only made my heart ache. I looked thin in the photos. But my belly was bulging. I was tortured by morning sickness and vomited everything I ate. My hair was dry and brittle. Robert had been a naughty baby, always kicking me in the middle of the night. I sighed. So selfish. Mom, what did you say? Robert asked in confusion. I was weak and thin in the photos because of pregnancy. And you only focus on yourself. You don't understand how hard it was for me to give birth to you." After 10 months of pregnancy, Robert still couldn't empathize. He didn't understand my sacrifices. He was a sophisticated egoist. Just like his father. I closed the album. "Go. These photos only remind me of pain." Robert refused to leave, and in the end, Pace the housekeeper had to take him away. After that visit, Robert was unwilling to give up. A few days later, he came again with a ceramic plate. "Mom, look, this is the plate you made for me. You said you worked on it all day." "Oh, then why is it broken?" He hesitated, but I knew he broke it. He thought it was too ugly and was embarrassed to take it to school. The shards had once scratched my arm, leaving a small, permanent mark. I didn't have much artistic talent. That plate was the best of all the ones I had made. In the end, Henry bought him an artist's work and let him take that instead. As for this one, I glued it together piece by piece. But once something is cracked, it can never truly be repaired. It was already a defective product. I threw it into the trash. It shattered instantly. "Since you have a new one, there's no need to keep this one." Robert looked at the broken plate in a daze. Then suddenly, he brightened. "Mom, did you recover your memory and remember me?" I shook my head. "I never lost my memory. I just don't want to think about you or Henry anymore." I didn't want to say more and pushed him out. Robert left. That night, I had a social event, and Ian insisted on coming. He was afraid I would drink too much. But in the end, he couldn't handle his liquor either. Neither of us could drive. The venue was close to home, so I supported Ian and planned to walk back. The cold wind helped sober us up. While he was tipsy, I asked casually, "Ian, do you like me?" His dark eyes suddenly lit up. He stared at me silently, then looked away, blushing, and nodded hard. My heart pounded. I changed the subject. "What did you drink just now?" He thought for a moment. "Brandy, I think." "Really? Bend down." He bent obediently. His lips were soft, with a beautiful shine. I leaned over and kissed him. They were soft, like marshmallows soaked in liquor. I licked my lips to savor it. Ian's eyes widened, drunk and stunned. I said casually, "Yeah, definitely brandy." I walked ahead, leaving Ian frozen, a blush spreading across his ears. He quickly caught up and hugged me tightly, slightly bent to surround me, burying his face in my neck like a joyful child. "Callista, I like you so much," he kept muttering. As soon as we got home, Ian seemed to sober up. He pinned me against the door. "Can I kiss you?" When I nodded, he looked at me like a puppy staring at a bone. His eyes burned. He kissed his way to the bed, gently pecking at my collarbone. When he felt me tremble, he stopped. He leaned into my ear and whispered with a damp voice, "Callista, stop pushing me away in the dark." I unbuckled his belt at the party organized by Henry's friends. Henry was drinking silently, catching snippets of gossip from the people around him. Suddenly, with a bang, Henry overturned the table beside him. "What did you say? Ian is just the adopted son of the Shin family? He has always liked Callista?" Henry's face sank instantly, and his voice grew colder than ever before. He was furious. His eyes turned red as he threw all the bottles on the table to the ground. The air around him felt heavy. Several people saw Henry this angry for the first time and trembled, not daring to speak. Then Henry thought of a devastating question. Ian had never called him brother-in-law, nor had he ever called Callista his sister. Henry immediately drove to Ian's company. As soon as he entered the office, he grabbed Ian's collar and punched him. Gritting his teeth, Henry said, "You're really something. I treated you like my brother-in-law. But you actually like your sister?" Ian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and smiled contemptuously. "You're worthy of being my brother-in-law. Open the chat history between us." Although confused, Henry still opened his phone and searched for Ian's messages. He found them quickly, as he would often contact Ian. As Henry scrolled through the chat history, his face grew paler and paler. "Accompany your sister to a prenatal checkup. She has severe morning sickness and refuses to eat at home. Come over. She's depressed after giving birth. If you have time, take her abroad to relax." "I don't have time. Callista has a fever. Callista is throwing a tantrum again." I don't have time to deal with her. Please go look after her. Callista was in a car accident. Please take care of her. Ian had responded to every message immediately. He had never once initiated contact with Henry. Nor had he gone to see Callista on his own. It was always Henry who asked. During this marriage, Ian accompanied Callista to 14 prenatal checkups. Henry had asked him countless times to support Callista when she was sad. Ian had unknowingly played the role of husband in their marriage. Henry realized it too late. He always admired the close bond between the two. But Ian, the CEO of a listed company, would drop everything and rush over as soon as Henry mentioned Callista. Henry's hands trembled as he flipped through the chat history. Ian suddenly punched Henry again. Henry didn't dodge, he staggered back, hitting the wall hard. Ian looked at him coldly. What do you think now? I've wanted to punch you for a long time. Where were you when Callista was in labor? Ian answered his own question. My wife and child were missing. And you were abroad watching Diana's music performance. Why did she have a car accident? Because you left her on the highway for Diana. Where were you when she was sick and in pain? You left her again and again. Did you ever think that she was your wife? Bitterness curled at the corner of Henry's mouth. He wanted to argue, but everything Ian said was true. Like hands strangling his neck. Like a thorn in his throat. His mind went blank when my assistant told me Henry had come to the company looking for Ian in a rage. I immediately called security to go to the top floor office. Henry, what are you doing? As soon as I got out of the elevator, I saw Henry grabbing Ian's collar in anger. The security guard stepped in to stop Henry, and I stood in front of Ian. His swollen mouth looked especially obvious on his fair face, and tears welled in his eyes. Looking pitiful, I gently touched his face with heartache. Is this what your upbringing taught you? I looked at Henry calmly. Henry swayed on his feet. He saw disgust in my eyes. Callista, I'm hurt too. I turned away and left with Ian. Security, escort him out. Don't let irrelevant people into the company again. Henry asked Robert to come see me, hoping to use my affection for the boy to keep me. But I am no longer the person I used to be. Little one, don't come to me again. I've divorced your father. I'm no longer your mother. Robert panicked when he heard how I addressed him. Mom, I want to eat the weird food you cook. I want you to tell me bedtime stories. I want you to hold me while I sleep. Robert, anyone can do that. You're just not used to me not being by your side. I turned to leave. Robert grabbed my skirt. His voice choked. No, Mom, I really know I was wrong. That day was just a prank. I don't even like Aunt Diana. I promise I won't do it again. Dad is a liar. He said you'd come back after you regained your memory. But you clearly remember me and just don't want me anymore. Grandma Wong told me it was really hard for you when you were pregnant with me. I was a bad kid and always made you angry. I looked down at him. Robert, don't wait until you lose something to realize how much it meant. Robert hugged my thighs, tears and snot on his face. Mom, did I lose you? This is the last lesson I teach you as your mother. I hope in the future you won't speak ill of the people you love or the people who love you. Learn to respect others, and others will respect you. People leave when they're hurt. Robert cried on his knees, clutching my skirt tightly. Mom, give me another chance. I'll change. I won't be like Dad. Please believe me. I'm your baby. I helped him up. Robert, your father and I have separated. I will never go back to that house again. He wiped his tears. If you don't want Dad, then I don't want Dad either. If you don't come see me, can I come see you instead? I promise to be good. That's your freedom. People can't teach people, but experiences can. Without unforgettable pain, there can be no true growth. I just hope Robert can set aside his pride and prejudice, become a good person, and not disappoint those who love him. I hope he never follows his father's path. After signing a big deal with a client company, I was about to drive back when I ran into Diana. She invited me for a drink at a cafe. Callista, last time at the hospital, I thought Robert was testing if you'd really lost your memory. So I didn't refute him. I truly need to apologize. I shouldn't have interfered in your and Henry's life. I shouldn't have been tempted by money and become Robert's teacher. Diana lowered her head. You're not the reason Henry and I divorced. Don't blame yourself. I know you're not that kind of person. I still owe you a favor. Diana had briefly joined our class in sophomore year. At the time, she was seen as a little princess in the Beijing circle, but she was never arrogant. She always smiled gently and had a calm, stable core. I was vain at 17, trying too hard to fit into Henry's world. I was often laughed at, but not by Diana. She once told me, "Only when you focus on yourself will the universe revolve around you." It turns out she understood things much better than I did. I quit that job after you left. I figured it out. I can't keep living on the pity of the Pei family. I need to become stronger. I turned on my phone and transferred a file to Diana in order to repay her favor. I secretly investigated. WW is already a century-old enterprise. It can no longer be described as merely rich. Expensive is more appropriate. The overnight collapse is indeed suspicious. I helped her uncover some minor actions taken by her relatives abroad. She can handle the rest on her own. The probability of the Wan family making a comeback is still quite high, after all. Their family background is substantial. Even a lean camel is bigger than a horse. Diana was very grateful to me when she saw the file and suddenly thought of Henry again. "Then you and Henry?" I pointed out the window. Ian was standing outside in a gray coat, waiting for me patiently. She smiled sincerely. "I wish you happiness. Henry is really not worth it." Diana left, saying Henry had something to talk to me about. Henry told me in detail about the good old days between us. I interrupted him. "You can go back to the past. But there's no one there anymore." Henry grabbed my hand, his voice choking. "Callista, I'm sure now that the person I love is you, only you." I let go of his hand and spoke seriously. Love doesn't need to be confirmed. Only unconfirmed love needs repeated confirmation. He continued trying to keep me. "Callista, tomorrow is my birthday. You always make me a bowl of longevity noodles on my birthday." I asked him, "Henry, did you know that last Sunday was my birthday?" Henry pursed his lips, thought for a few moments, and his face filled with regret. "Look, the person you love most is actually yourself. I'm sorry. I will make it up to you. You'll have the most grand birthday party." I shook my head. "This is no longer about birthdays. No need. Henry, you still don't understand. If you miss it, you miss it. I've made an appointment to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow to get the divorce certificate. After leaving you, I finally learned to love myself. So please, don't disturb my life anymore." I turned and ran to Ian. He had been waiting for me in the cold wind for a long time. "I won't let him wait anymore. Henry." The moment I received the divorce certificate was when I truly realized I had lost Callista. Before that, even on the day of signing the divorce agreement, I was fearless. I always believed that after Callista regained her memory, we could still be like before. But I didn't expect that she hadn't lost her memory from the beginning. I instantly fell into a huge panic. It seemed like something had slipped away from my heart. People are always slow to realize things. They have to lose something before they truly understand the meaning of cherishing it. I began to look through her past posts and the daily life she once shared with me. I couldn't help laughing when I saw her vividly describing things in our chat records. It turned out the messages she sent me were so interesting. But most of the chat records were long strings of messages from her, with me rarely replying or even reading them. Slowly, she began to message me less, and eventually stopped reaching out altogether. A person's desire to share doesn't disappear, it just redirects. So, she began confiding in Ian about the little things in her life. Unknowingly, Ian became deeply involved in Callista's life. And I didn't care, thinking they were just good siblings. I always enjoyed her kindness. Used to being loved, convinced she would never leave. It wasn't until I truly lost her that I realized I had loved Callista, but she was already gone. Robert also left. He said he was going to boarding school. He didn't want to hire anyone to take care of him. He said he could take care of himself. After Robert left, I was the only one left in the big house. It didn't feel like a home anymore. There was no warmth. Callista was so cruel. She didn't leave me anything of hers. Sometimes I envy Robert. At least he gets to see his mother every week and call her. I can only drink every day to numb my nerves. The image of her by my side lingers constantly in my mind. I feel so guilty, regretful, and hate myself for missing so many chances. I feel so heartbroken every night because I had met someone who truly loved me. And I ruined it all. Looking at the only photo of us together from our wedding, tears just flowed. Why didn't my future self travel back 6 years to tell Henry not to hurt her? Not to push her away? Not to let her go? If I had another chance, I would hold her hand tightly, never letting go, even in death. But there is no if. She's getting married. She was my wife just months ago. I was in a mess. How could this happen? I told Robert about his mother's marriage to Ian. I thought he'd feel as miserable as I did, since his mother had abandoned us. But Robert wasn't sad, he was happy for her. Mom is very happy with Uncle. I hope she can be happy. Yes, even children know she's happier with Ian. What right do I have to blame Callista? I went to her wedding. I never got to have one with her. But Ian did. Robert even volunteered to be the flower boy. The wedding was grand. I had never seen how beautiful Callista looked in a wedding dress. I wish you happiness. Thank you. She smiled. She had let go, and I had missed happiness. I will never be happy again. That is my greatest punishment.